Hi, it's Laura at Aquamarine 18 Tarot and Books. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. Welcome or welcome back. In this video, I want to share a flip through, walk through, rambling thoughts about a deck that I backed on Kickstarter, but which is actually a mass market deck. This is Turning Terrestrial Tides Tarot, and this is published by PM Press. It's their first tarot deck that they've done, to my knowledge. PM Press is a really great anarchist publisher. They publish, a lot of excellent books, a lot of excellent nonfiction. And so I was happy to see that they were, first of all, doing some tarot decks. They have two. I think the other one is still forthcoming. And also that this deck turned out so very well. I'm quite happy with this deck, so I'm happy to share it with you. Before I get into the deck, I want to just read an overview from the PM Press website, which I will link below. You can order things directly from their website, but they also, tend to be pretty widely available in terms of, other places that you might order mass market decks. So the website reads, "We're in turbulent times. The US is experiencing its first Pluto return, and Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are all set to move into new zodiac signs in the near future. The astrology suggests that we're collectively standing on the precipice of a major shift here on Earth. So how do we use this astrological energy of change to our advantage? The 78 tarot archetypes invite us to self-reflect and entertain curiosity around designing our future within larger communities. During these times of intense transformation, tarot can act as both a mirror and an anchor for personal empowerment, reminding us that we write our own tomorrow. This DIY quality is reflected in the Turning Terrestrial Tides tarot artwork. The travel-friendly, poker-sized deck was created in the approachable cut-and-paste collage style of 90s zines and includes the astrological linkages to each tarot archetype as well as words to reflect on, both on the cards and within the included mini guidebook." And the creator is Sarah Calvaries, who is a South Philadelphia-based author, illustrator, astrologer, tarot reader, and owner of the 8th House, a brick-and-mortar retail space. So that's the deck. So I backed it on Kickstarter rather than buying it mass market when it came out because there was a cool shirt that you could get. And so I wanted to get the shirt, which I didn't assume would be necessarily as available after the Kickstarter. And then I also backed the deck. So, Turning Terrestrial Tides Tarot. It has the price on the bottom there, and the information for PM Press and the 8th House on the back. Comes in a sturdy 2-piece box with the finger cutouts, which is great. Good box. The inside of the box has the renamed suits, which are tangibles, thoughts, passions, and emotions. I don't know that I love tangibles because I just don't think of tangible as a noun, but it works. I think that those are clear enough. I think that they're obviously relevant. So, that works for me. It comes with a guidebook. The guidebook is not numbered, so I'm not sure how many pages this has exactly, but it's black and white. It includes the suits as well as the court renaming, which is child, teen, adult, and elder. And then it has a page for each of the cards. And the astrological associations are in the guidebook, not on the cards themselves. So you can see here, the 4 of Cups is Moon in Cancer, for example. So there's a fair amount written for each of the cards, and that's it. No spreads, no extras, no tarot history, just straight to the material focused on this deck. The bottom of the box has the court card renames there. And it's a good box, I think. The edges are done in this amazing neon green. Very bright. Green is my favorite color, so I really like that. The backs say the tides are turning. They are reversible. Text on the back is not my favorite thing on a tarot deck, But this is subtle enough, like it's not, it doesn't feel distracting or anything like that. So that's good. They are poker sized, so smaller than standard tarot, obviously. And they're black and white, and they're done in this kind of zine cutout style, which if you've ever been to, like one of the anarchist book fairs or zine fair, this will be a very familiar kind of Xerox aesthetic to you. And that's what called to me about this deck for sure. So I'm going to zoom in a bit and we can just take a look at the cards. I think that, is really exciting to me, not only that a publisher whose books I really like has now gotten into doing some tarot, but also that, for a first go at doing a deck of cards, the publisher I feel like has done a really good job. Like the box is nice, the guidebook, is sufficient. It's, better than a standard little white book, I think, in terms of the write-ups. Like it would be fairly beginner friendly. The cardstock is good. It's matte. It's quite sturdy. It feels quite thick. It is not rose petal, but it is matte. And it's not sticky. It shuffles pretty nicely. So that's always a good thing. I think that this will be well received. So without further ado, we start with the Fool. And I'm not going to read all of the words on every card or anything like that, but you can see there's an image of a fetus there, and it says, "What about the space between existence and non-existence? What lives there? Jump, jump, jump. Pure potential, uranium born in the merger of neutron stars." And so it gives a lot of interesting things to work with that are not exactly keywords, but are text-based. And I think that overall in the deck, the chosen components speak to the card meaning quite well. Like I think that even though this is fairly unconventional, it could be a good beginner deck for somebody who is into that kind of zine style. The Magician card is what's on the hoodie that I got, which I think is pretty cool. There are renames in this deck. Not most. I think most of the majors stay the same, but some of them have been changed. So here the High Priestess is the Oracle. I feel like they've specifically changed, the most gendered of the titles, including in the courts as well, as we've already seen. The Vessel for the Empress. The Authentic. This is the only rename that I really don't like. The Authentic for the Emperor doesn't work for me, and, not least of all because I just think authentic as a word to describe like humans is fairly ridiculous for a host of reasons. It's not a word that I love. I know lots of people feel very differently, but I feel like, I don't know, the structure, like there's other things that I would have preferred here, but I like the picture a lot of the chair there. I think that is good. The Authority for the Hierophant, and it says power and authority, one is inherent, the other requires our permission and cooperation. The Mirror for the Lovers. The Chariot stays the same. Strength is 8 in this deck, and Justice 11. The Hermit. The Wheel of Fortune is the Wheel. Justice. The Suspended. I feel like that's a title I've seen before for the hanged one. That works, I think. Death. Temperance. The Devil. The Tower. I like this, like, Jenga. There. The Star. The Moon. The Sun. Judgment. And the World. So the pentacles are tangibles in this deck. Which I think works in terms of association. It just sounds grammatically funny to me. And you do get, you know, the number of items there. The 3 have the stars on them and the others don't. And it's quite kind of Smith-Waite in its interpretations, I would say. Certainly not in its visuals, but it is, you know, it's a deck that the choices will be pretty clear in their kind of rationale to anyone who's familiar with Smith-Waite. I don't mind the child, teen, adult, elder rename for the courts. And some of the courts do have kind of people's faces in them, but a lot of them don't. I like these seahorses on the 2 of Cups. I do think some of the, you know, the challenge with a deck like this and the challenge with a text-based deck or with keywords, anything like that, is that you do kind of get locked into particular kind of interpretations in some instances. So something like this, having apathy and boredom be named right on the 4 of Cups, you know, obviously skews towards interpreting the 4 of Cups in a particular sort of way. And I think that when you have just, say, the image, like even the Smith-Waite image, it doesn't necessarily mean apathy. It doesn't necessarily read as apathetic. Certainly in the context of a reading, it could mean a lot of things. This does inevitably, you know, function in a similar way to me as something like a keyword deck. And keyword decks don't tend to be my preference for tarot, but I do think that this is really well done. Decision fatigue for the 7 of Cups. That's real. I really like the size, being poker sized. I think that, you know, they've done well to keep the text legible and not in a really, really tiny font, which I appreciate. Even though the cards are, smaller, like this font, you know, I'm hoping that it's fairly visible if you pause, you know, that you could read them, but This font here, that's the smallest font, is maybe a 10. Maybe a 10-point font. So it is legible, which is great. Self-care, community care. I like the balance in this deck between cards that include humans and cards that don't. I feel like it's a nice change from being, you know, a completely no humans deck or a deck with humans on virtually every card to have this kind of, some of them have hands, some of them have faces, some of them have nothing. It's a bit unusual. I like that the Seven of Swords is not skewed negatively, as I feel like it often is. Stay curious. That's a good Page of Swords keyword, I think. Or key phrase, I guess. There is also, I think, a good degree of diversity in terms of the humans represented in the cards that do feature humans, which I appreciate. I feel like this will be a good kind of, you know, card of the day, kind of single card draw deck, but also the small size makes it obviously amenable to toting around. I recently switched from carrying a shoulder bag to using like a waist pack. And so, you know, insofar as I want to carry a deck around with me all the time, which I'm sure I'm not alone in generally carrying a deck around with me, I'm really only carrying smaller sized tarot decks at this point because that's all I have room for. I can basically fit, you know, a small deck, my wallet, my planner, maybe a pair of sunglasses. That's about all. And you know, a pen. That's about it. So I'm glad to have this mini deck in my collection. So that is the Turning Terrestrial Tides Tarot, published by PM Press. And my spread cloth is wrinkly, but I will give it a shuffle. It is very firm to try to shuffle with the bridge and riffle. It is possible. I can't bridge it. I can get the cards to go like this, and then I can push them like that, but I don't think that this would bridge. And I think that some of that is a function of its size. Like it's not the bendiest, but it does feel very durable. Like I would feel comfortable, you know, not being too gentle with this. So we'll just to get an idea of how this all looks. You know, it starts to look like a page of a zine when you lay them out, which is fun. I did just lay those out of order, but that's okay. So yeah, it's a pretty cool deck. I am quite happy with it. Do you have this deck? What do you think of it? Are you thinking of checking it out? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Editing Laura here. I realized that I filmed this and didn't include a real look at the kind of contents in the guidebook. So I thought we could just stop here for a second and pick a card and read the guidebook so that you can get a sense of what that is like. As I showed, it gives about the same amount for each card, regardless of whether it's a major, minor, or court. So here we have the sun. And it says, what is done in the dark always comes to the light. Now do you see? So if we go to the guidebook for the sun, here's the page here. 19, the sun. Do you know what that thing your optometrist uses for your eye exam is called? A phoropter. It measures refractive error. Better 1 or better 2? The letters on the bottom line click into focus with every rotation of the lenses. Sometimes our lives aren't dissimilar. Our perspective perpetually blurred under an old prescription, that is, until we make the adjustments that bring everything into focus. With a new pair of glasses, we can see everything clearly. It's like we're looking at the world with fresh eyes, and everything is as it should be for the sun. And we could pick a minor, maybe, just to see. There's the Fool. 3 of Passions. So that's the 3 of Wands. So for the 3 of Wands, it tells us Sun in Aries. And the book reads, boldly pursuing our passions feels like the first time we ride a bike without training wheels. At first we're scared, but once we commit and take the steps to do the thing, we have moments of looking down at our pedaling feet in disbelief and thinking to ourselves, I'm doing it. These are the moments when we feel most alive. And we only get to touch them when we're brave enough to take risks in pursuit of the things we want. Sure, it can be scary, but once we get a taste of the possibility for expansion, growth, and exploration that are in front of us, it's magical. This is the beginning of a journey. Think of all the places we can go. So that is the guidebook, or a sense of the guidebook for turning terrestrial tides.